Hi, my name is Ryan Burns. I'm the president and owner of Stress Free Solutions. I've owned Stress Free Solutions in Maryland now for 10 years. We specialize working with older adults in downsizing and relocation. As a move manager, we're here to help you achieve your goal and through that process. So a lot of times people are transitioning to a new home. It could be going to a CCRC, it could be to an assisted living, it could just be they're gonna move in with their daughter and an in-law suite, but there's a transition in their life. It may be through injury or illness, or it could just be, hey, you know what, I want that lock and leave lifestyle, and I'm gonna go to a smaller place. So whatever that may be, as a move manager, we're here with the entire journey. It could be 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. Everyone's on a different pace as they go through the transition to a new home. So as a move manager, it's being professional and understanding that I've done thousands of homes, and here's the things that work and here's the things that are difficult for some people, as it's very emotional to get rid of items that have been in the home for years. Patience is a virtue. Patience is very key to this. A lot of times through the emotions and through the patience, we work with a lot of clients who maybe one of the loved ones has dementia or they have memory issues. So it could be crying on this shoulder and unpacking with this hand and working you through that process. So it's not just, hey, you got to move now and you have to do it. It has to be brought down to a level where the individual feels comfortable of going through a lifetime of memories and not just, here's the dumpster, let's throw it away. That's not what you want to do in this process at all. Also, attention to detail. Every single thing in the house, let's say there's 10,000 items. That's 10,000 decisions that have to be made, and they have to go into the right box. It could be, this is for the grandkids, this is for the kids, this is going into my new home, this is my mother's dresser, and I can't part ways with it, so that has to go into the home. Everything has to be done on a timeline with goals associated to achieve what you're trying to accomplish here. Let's go over some reasons why people downsize. Right off the bat, move into a smaller place. A square peg does not fit into a round hole, and you can't bring all your stuff with you. Number two, they're placing the home on the market, and they may want to declutter. They're just, well, I really want to, let the person that comes and enjoys this future house, that the closets aren't full of stuff, and they're kind of just decluttering while the house is on the market. People just want to be looking to become more organized within the home, and maybe go through that storage area that, or the attic you haven't been into for, let's say 10 years, and why do we keeping on to this stuff? They just want to get rid of that stuff. And they're not actually moving. The home is no longer safe or too much to handle. I know a lot of people, if they've got 5 acres of grass to mow, and it's the weekend again, and it just gets to the point where, there's another downed tree, and the lawn side of things becomes too hard, and they need to go to a community that's going to take care of that side, or the house is just, the kids have moved out and it's just a little too big. You don't need to clean the whole house, and just looking to kind of reduce their workload as they're aging, especially if it's single level living. Stairs might become an issue, and why do we have these 5 bedrooms when really we just need 2 and we can go to a single level. Some people, it's their first time using medical equipment. So if it's their first time with a walker, a wheelchair, some different Hoyer lifts, different things within the home that now make it more difficult, where there might be split levels and things, and just make it more safe. And so you're not, because in reality, a fall is going to put you behind, and those injuries or illness that are going to dictate the move, it's just better to be safe within the home. Some people just are going to downsize just because they want to remove items. And those removing items could be, I don't need these 5 things, can you just come and get these out of the home? So kind of free up some space. Now, when is the best time to start? Now you're probably thinking, okay, I'm gonna be moving in 3 years, so I'm gonna start within 2 months before it happens. The best time to start is now. You start early and you start often, because when you create this timeline, everything is based on your goal. So if you think about right now is today, and here's the timeline, and here's your goal. You think, the timeline is I want to move. But in reality, you have to go through the barn, the attic, the basement, the garage. All these pieces have to be decided upon. So when you do move, then just packing and unpacking. So if your goal is to sell the house, move to a CCRC, move to an assisted living, wherever that may be, that's the goal, where you're watching TV and this is all behind you. Everything is in that step, and you have to have small victories along the way. So you want to develop those timelines and those goals, where a lot of people, when they're getting those little victories along the way, it's taking each individual goal and saying, I want to get the basement done. That is a very big win. If you've had a basement full of stuff and you haven't used it and you're just focused on the basement, maybe call that phase 1. Phase 2 could be 3 months later. Let's do the attic. What you don't want to do is take everything from the basement and put it into different rooms, and you're churning it around the home. Nothing is actually being accomplished. It's just you're stirring the pot within the home. Do not start on your living space. And when I say living space, is don't go into the kitchen and pick everything out of the cabinets and say, I'm going to downsize this kitchen. I've had the same stuff we moved in 40 years ago. It's still those cups. I'm going to get those out. What's going to happen is you're not going to be able to fry an egg, and it's going to make it hard to live within the home. So we always start, if we can, on the non-living space. And what these are is, if you have a storage locker, think of your storage locker and how much money you have in that storage every single month, when in reality, you probably could buy everything brand new that's in that storage locker in 6 months. Now, I've had a client who, they had not opened their storage locker since 1991. There were $89,000 in storage fees, and everything in that storage locker sold for $4,000. Think about the money that could have been saved by not having a storage locker at some place. Now, if you need a storage locker for under 3 months, I'm okay with that. That's because you're putting it there, house is on the market, and you know in your timeline that you're going to take it out of storage. So if you have storage somewhere, that's where you want to start. You're not physically using it every day, and it's easier because you're not using it every day. Maybe the emotions of it is not as difficult to tackle. So storage lockers, number 1. Then we go into areas like, the storage within the home. Like, where's that crawl space? Start to, on that timeline, the basement. Okay, we can do the basement. If your basement is your living room, do not start in the living room and just make it too hard to go through the whole process. A lot of times people will say, like, even for me, I'm a collector of items, so I have one room in my house that I have a lot of little stuff. I'm gonna tell you, that's why I'm good at what I do. But what I also do is, when I go and do that spring cleaning, I focus on one area at a time, and I do it like I'm reading a book. So from the left to the right, I don't, if I don't need this hanger in my closet, I'm going to take it out. But as I go through there, I have the goal in mind, where if it's at my pocket office, that's going to be my focus for the day. And when I start, make sure you have all the supplies you need, and we'll get into that in a little bit here, but you need to have a place for it to go. Everything has a purpose and a place, and we'll also touch on that here in a second. As you start with areas with little emotion, you get the ball rolling, because it's a very, the best way to explain it is, you're about to climb the mountain, and you're like, oh my gosh, this mountain is huge. There's so much to do. I have to do this, and then I gotta get the kids to come, and they gotta take what they want, and you get very overwhelmed. So take a deep breath and bring it down to one level of something you can handle, and mark out all the things that need to be completed so you understand the entire process. As a move manager, we're gonna lay that process out with you so you understand, this is how it goes. If you're doing it yourself, you definitely want to have a journal or a notebook that you're working on, so you know what you're accomplishing when something is, too heavy to lift, but the kids are coming over for a pot roast or a pizza, whatever they're coming over for. Make sure that, take it. Don't let them use your home as a storage, so then someday, like before the move, I'll come and get that. I want that, Mom. I want that, Dad. You get them to take it as you're going through this process. So going back to the supplies, if I pick up something, let's say I pick up these papers, and I pick them up, and then I pick up some more papers, or whatever I'm picking up in your hands, you have to have a place for it to go. So what I do is I make sure within my area, my staging area, I have a box for donation. I have a box for whichever kit it is. I have a box for, the shred. I have every single thing that something can go into. So when I pick this up, I don't put it down another pile. One pile should not turn into 2 to 3 and then back to 1, and again, you're just churning around. You wanna make sure you pick it up and you put it down. When we talk about paper, make sure it goes into a box that says shred, and when that box gets full, you tape it up and put shred all over it. You don't wanna have to, this is my shred pile, and then you go back to that shred pile, and then let's say your husband moves it around, and next thing you know, oh my goodness, I have to go through all that paperwork again. You wanna make sure you're getting things in the correct, everything has a purpose and a place. If it has no purpose, it has no place. If it has no place, then it has no purpose going. That's when everything we do along this process has to have a purpose, or it really doesn't work. So as you go through this and you're thinking of the new location, if you don't know your new location where you're going to, that's fine. But if you can, and it makes it easier, understand the space that you're going into and what you want that to have. You know, some people, as we go into needs versus wants. When you're going to a hotel, what is there to be able to, quote unquote, survive? You need a bed, a dresser, a TV, nightstand, and a chair. Really, but that doesn't feel like home. So as you go your needs versus your wants, you start off the process of measuring the furniture and what's gonna actually go in here where I need my bed. Well, if you're going to a smaller place and you're used to a king bed, but the king bed does not fit in there, that becomes a want, where I want the bed, but it's no longer a need. You might have to get a new bed. Now, as we go through this, where I need a place for, I want the curio cabinet because I have my favorite collection. Well, you also want the china cabinet, and you want the hutch and all the other things. Those are just wants. So you start with your needs and you build your place saying, this is what would be perfect for my home, and it will feel like home, and it's safe, and it's not a furniture store, and you're like, all my stuff's here. You really didn't do it the right way. So you build your place with the needs. And then if you go, oh, we have an extra 5 feet over here, then you go, hey, what do I want more? Do I want the china cabinet or do I want the hutch? You know what? I want the hutch. So then that goes into the place and you're building your place. A lot of people will think, look how much I got rid of. And look how good I'm doing. But in reality, there's so much stuff there that if you're not thinking of the new place and building that place, you might have, let's say, 20,000 items in the home, and you can only take, 1,000. Well, if you got rid of 10,000, you're thinking about all the items you got rid of. Like, look what I've done. I got rid of all this stuff. But in reality, you are paring down. But if you go through that basement and you get rid of half the stuff, and you're thinking, look how much I got rid of. In reality, that other 50% is not going to go to the new place if you don't even have a basement. So really, you probably should have got rid of 95%. And only taking the things you absolutely need, and then you hold on to the wants. If you don't know where you're going yet, you can kind of push that back on the timeline of actually getting rid of things that you don't want to have to go buy it again. That's always the thing we hear all the time. Like, well, what if I need this? Typically, if you haven't used it in a while, if the new home doesn't need it, you probably don't need it. I like to create an inventory as I go through it. So if you have your journal or on your notebook and you say, okay, in the living room, here's the 5 things that I absolutely have to have. You or us, whoever does it, measure those pieces of furniture. So these are the pieces. Go to your bedroom. Here's the pieces I have to have. Maybe you don't bring the whole suit with the 3 different dressers. It might just be one for each person. It might not fit into the new location, but if you have your needs and your wants and you say, okay, this is all I want list, go room by room and create that inventory. And then also, if you're labeling furniture and you're like, oh, I'm definitely taking that. Don't use duct tape. I don't know how many times people will rip the use painter's tape if you have to, but even having an inventory, the list, so you're not living with a bunch of things labeled for the next 6 months or whatever it may be. But if you do mark anything, please use painter tape and just be careful with your furniture. When you go through room by room, now, like I said before, I read it like a book. I go for the first thing. I clear every single thing off of there and make a decision. What you don't want to do is go, oh, this is the matching spoon. And then you go to the room where that other matching spoon is. And now you're going from room to room collecting all these spoons, and you're holding these spoons going, what do I do with them now? Go through the room, and if those spoons are something that you have to have, they would go in the new home box. You don't want to just be collecting things, oh, that matches that thing, but I haven't seen it for 10 years, but I know that the Tupperware lid is somewhere. 10% of what you have, it has 90% of the value. And your time is so valuable across this to get everything done, it's almost impossible to find the correct, like someone in Iowa really could use this lid would match the Tupperware in their closet. It's almost impossible to find all these things, so you want to spend the time that's really necessary of making your new home feel like home. That's why we focus on the needs. Everything else is emotional, but it's just noise. That's stuff for the kids, that's stuff for the donation, that's stuff to be sold online, all that is noise. Focus on what you need for your new home first. Everything else will become easy because it all just falls into place. Ohio, OHIO, only handle it once. Please, if you do nothing from this video except learn Ohio, it'll be so much easier for you. So if I'm in the china cabinet and I pull it out, that's one touch. Well, I'll just put it here on the dining room table. That's 2 touches. Then 3 weeks later, you go back in, oh, I gotta put this in a box. That's your second touch. Then I gotta take and move it 3 times. Then when you get to the new home, oh, wait a minute, the china cabinet didn't actually come. Now we have to unpack it, there's another touch, and then repack it to then get it out on the other end, on the back end. Try to only touch an item 1 time. If you pick something up, that's why you wanna have your supplies ready. When you pick something up, it needs to go into the box that it needs to go into. That might be a recycling bag, a trash bag. It might be the new home. It might be, Cindy Lou's box. Whatever it is, don't take it up and put it into another pile just to then have to go through that pile again. Try to only handle it once, and that also goes with the furniture. Well, let's just bring all these side tables and all these chairs to the new home, and we'll see which one fits. Well, if you're paying a mover, or you're doing it, if you get the grandkids to actually come and help you, and you bring all this stuff over, and then it doesn't fit. Now you got to bring it back out, back down the stairs, and it just avoid that whole process by measuring and really bringing what you need and only handling it once through that process and not taking it from the old home to the new home, back out of the new home if it doesn't fit. It just makes more work for everybody, and you're not doing it, systematically through that process. Again, a square peg does not fit into a round hole, so sometimes it's best to get rid of things. And if it's something you cannot part with, if the family takes it, great. If they don't, take a picture of it. Now they have the rotating picture frames. If you want to look at that china cabinet over and over and over, you can sit there and put it on the windowsill and watch that china cabinet come in rotation of all the things that you had to get rid of, if that's because it's not attached to the memory. Where you're attached to the memory, you're not attached to the item. You're thinking, oh, that chest, that was when me and my husband or me and my wife, we went out and we bought that with a great day, then we had lunch and we loved this thing for 40 years. That's the memory that's attached to it. If it's just the chest of a neighbor's chest, you have no, it could be the exact same one made the same day, but you're not attached to it. So if it is a picture, because you have to let it go. Now, if it's a situation where hoarding is involved and you just physically, you're having truly trouble, then it becomes a different issue, and most likely a psychotherapist needs to come in and help you through those issues. But you want to make it safe, and that's usually when it gets to the point where people are having trouble with trash. Everyone has a little bit of collector in them. I know I do. I've got hat pins, and I've got I've got all the stuff that I have that my wife allows me to put in one room in my house. I can't bleed out in the other rooms, but I have it all decorated, and these are my little keepsake things, so I know exactly what you're going through. Everyone has a little bit of collection, and I've seen thousands of collections. It could be owls, or some people have, elephants, and some people collect, little snow babies. Every single thing is a collection to somebody, and it means something. But what people get in trouble with is, let's say it's a huge Coca-Cola collection, and this is something we've actually done. So the whole entire Coca-Cola collection came in, and it was thousands of pieces. Well, to find one buyer to buy that, it was almost impossible, because what happened was, it's the fun and excitement of being like, oh my goodness, I was on vacation and I was in an antique mall and I found that one piece. So if I was to buy that whole entire Coke collection, Well, then what do you do now? You gotta collect something else because you already have everything and you didn't get that fun of 40 years of collecting it. So to unload your entire collection is also hard because then you're trying to, piece it out on eBay, and then if you have the time and you've got someone that can help you, yeah, you can try to do that. But selling the whole collection is to one person, like, oh man, they're gonna love this. It's actually kind of more difficult than you would think. What I don't wanna have to do is if you get to the point where like, I just can't do it anymore, I just need a little bit of help. I can push you, the whole bring you to water, but I can't get you to drink. I don't want to have a big "I told you so" sign on my forehead saying, I told you shouldn't bring this, but we had to try, and it's one of those, see, it doesn't fit. So as you go through that, really pay attention to what you're bringing, or what you need, or what you actually want in the entire downsizing process. So identifying value. Not everyone has the holy grail at their house that they're like, this is worth millions of dollars. We've all seen the Antiques Roadshow where some people are like, that's all it's worth, or I have a 70, and everyone gets worried that they have the $75,000 vase. Now, again, you may have that. You may have really good stuff. You might have a Singer sewing machine that 1980s, was a couple $100, and now you go to the auction and there's 10 of them there. It's just things fall in and out of popularity. Right now, 90s toys are doing great. So it just all depends on what is actually you have and what your collection is. But try, sucking the value out of every single thing. Like, no, this was $10. It's you focus on your home. Everything else will come, because again, 10% of what you have has 90% of the value. And if you own your home has more value than probably anything in your house, unless you truly have gold bars in the home. So if you imagine your neighbor's home and you say, okay, and they say, come on into my home, you can have everything you want for free. How much are you really taking? Do you need their dining room table? Probably not. Do you want their clothes? Probably not. All this stuff is for free. Now you're probably gonna go in and say guns and jewelry, and yeah, I'll take that for free. Anything in value, but you're never gonna take more than 10% from your neighbor's home, because the value is in 90% of the value is in 10%. Now pretend that that same neighbor the next weekend is having a yard sale. How much are you gonna buy from your neighbor? And you'll be like, well, I had a chance for it for free, and I really don't need this stuff anyway, so why would I buy it? Now pretend like you're having a yard sale and you're trying to get all your neighbors to come and buy your stuff. Yes, you can sell stuff, but the amount of work that it takes to take it out of your house. Now we're talking Ohio, only handle it once. You take it out of your house, you set it up, you get all the stickers, you sit there for 2 days. Let's say 75% gets bought. Ain't gonna happen, but 75% gets bought. Now you have two choices. Bring it back in the house, or now touch it again and bring it to where it should have been in the first place. So, or take the 10% with value and focus on those items to get the value, either online auction, eBay. Now, don't get the Craigslist killer. You don't want to be home alone and someone realizes that, there's someone living, a widow or a widow, living by themselves with a bunch of stuff. You don't want to sell things online and have them come to your house. There are locations, if you do sell stuff online, you do not give out your information. You meet them either like outside of like a camera Walmart or the police station and exchange goods that way. Do not have them come to your house. Even the Facebook marketplace, it's great for selling things. And they came in and got it. You just be, especially if you're home alone. You don't want them to know that you're home alone and you're selling things and you're trying to get rid of the stuff. When you're donating, first try to sell what you can. Most online auctions start at $5. Some things, if it's like, this is a specialty item, if it's gold, silver, most of the times the kids are gonna want it. If you don't have kids, spend the time selling that item. As you donate, you can try to itemize everything. The tax rules are a little bit different now. A lot of times it's getting it to where it makes you feel good. Some people use churches. And with me as a business, I would, churches would take stuff. I bring a whole entire 20-foot box truck to that church. Well, they can only take one every six months. I got 3 box trucks a day coming out of houses. So for me donating, it's Habitat, Goodwill, anyone that really will take it, and I put it in their name. So when you're doing it, try not to make 1,000 trips to Goodwill or wherever you're donating to. Again, it's the time. But if it's like, well, I'm already going to the grocery store, let me take another 2 bags. Every little bit helps, but when you have so much in the home, and then you have your staging area of these are all donation, and my kids are gonna come look at it, see what they want. A lot of times, if you're having that pizza and pot roast, have them do a list of what they would want. If 2 kids want the same thing, go down the list and have, but don't get bogged down with all the stuff. If I'm not being clear, is don't let the kids use your house as a storage room, and it be on you. Where we've done moves where closing was at 5 o'clock the next day, and what are we doing with this chest? Well, the neighbor said they were going to come get it, and my daughter was going to come and get this bedroom suit. Well, you got to be out of this house in the next 6 hours. What are we going to do? Well, they never came. Have them get it early. In your timeline that I was talking about, here's where the stuff has to be out. If you don't have it by then, you forfeit it. So as you go through this, and then you're recycling, and you're going through, and you're wanting to get things gone that like if you're doing the basement, finish the entire process. So it's here's the 10% with 90% of the value. Let's spend 90% of your time selling those items. Then the rest of it, okay, now it's time to donate. Most of the time, you're probably gonna be donating things that, you might have found someone in California that wanted it for $5, but in reality, it's going somewhere as a means to an end. It takes 2 people to have an auction. If 2 people want Avon bottles, the Avon bottles will sell. If 1 person wants them, they're probably gonna get them for free or $5. It's just what it is. So as you go through that selling process, you can try to have, the kids are great with the computer, have them come in. But remember, and I'll say it 1,000 times, only have them work on the items that have the most value. Just because that Tupperware is there, oh, we got Tupperware for here. And you can use free cycle and things like that, and things will eventually get out of the house. It's just a lot of work. Like the business that I'm in is a lot of physical work and emotional for people, and it's hard. Working into clearing out the hazmat. So a lot of movers can't deal with hazard material, liquids, or anything like that. Earth911.org. That's Earth911.org will show you your local drop-off points. If the fire hall is having a like bring your old paint day, get rid of it years ahead of time. Don't wait till the week before the move. A lot of times, like once a year, the dump will say, "Hey, bring your chemicals." Constantly be trying to get rid of the hazard materials, any of the liquids, any of the old Roundup, all of that. You want to try to be getting rid of. Now, the paint, if the paint is hardened, so you go to Lowe's and you get the paint hardener or kitty litter, and you bring it outside. Don't have it inside the house doing this. But if it's hard, it can go into a regular trash can. But most liquids aren't going to be able to get hard. Some paint, it's almost impossible to get it hard. So when you have a chance, look Earth911.org, look it up, and start planning a year ahead of time for those yearly drop-off points of when you can get rid of stuff. We shred paper, but where is the local, is this local Staples having a bring it and shred it day? Make sure you're doing that. You don't need to carry all those years of tax forms to the new home. If you've got tax forms for 40 years, now's a great time to, they're having a shred day at this. Start on your timeline, start on your little journal. This is the day of this county's hazard waste day, bulk trash days, anything you can take advantage of. Make sure you're looking that stuff up to go through this process. If not, you're probably gonna call me, and we're gonna have to, get it out one way or another. Because if it doesn't convey with the house when you move, it's got to come out of that house. So the more that you do, starting early and starting often, it makes it easier. I've already talked about storage. If you have storage, make sure it's for a very short amount of time. Storage lockers are popping up everywhere, and it's so easy to say, well, I can't decide, let me put it in storage. Well, someone's gonna pay that bill. And the money would probably do better, especially on a fixed income, to not have a $300 bill in storage. Friends and family, if they'll come pick it up, put them on the timeline, but make sure you set the deadlines. Never assume someone wants it unless you ask them. I don't know how many times we've done a family or whatever we're doing, and it's it's a situation where, oh, my daughter will want that. Then we'll email the daughter, send them pictures, and she goes, I want none of that. Okay, so now we just went through this entire process. Ohio is completely out of the question. We have an entire room that has Jenny's name on it, and Jenny wants none of it. So now we have to go through it again and take it to the proper spot. So unless you ask them and they know that, yes, mom, yes, dad, I want that. Don't assume they want anything unless you ask them. I'm gonna go over a couple scenarios of things that I've seen over the past 10 years. And then, because we're not live here, I'd be happy to answer questions. But we'll go over some scenario questions as well. But the first scenario I have is not being part of the conversation. I don't know how many people say, I'll do that later. Oh, I'm never gonna move. I'm never downsizing. Then what happens is injury or illness dictates it. And let's say they go to rehab for 60 days. Well, after rehab, let's say that home is no longer safe. You gotta go from rehab into an adult community. Now you're telling your daughter, oh, up there's this thing. If you get to be a part of those conversations and those memories, just going through old photos and going through old items in the attic brings back, for some people, it's a lot of fun and they enjoy it because they're going through it. Now, if you're not a part of the conversation, let's say because you happen to be in rehab or whatever the situation may be, and you don't get to physically do it and you're relying on someone else, the anxiety of that, if I had to think about my house right now being downsized, I'd be like, well, I hope they know that, those things that's my special, and all those things you have to talk about. So starting early and starting often and getting to that part where maybe if you have the attic done and the basement done and you're not even thinking about moving, but they're done. So when the injury or illness, dictates the move, you're more prepared. So it's, oh yeah, here's my list. Take this to my new place, wherever that may be. I want these items. These are what I already have decided going to which kid is going to take it. And you're not, oh my goodness, I never cleaned out that storage locker and now I have to deal with it. So please be a part of the conversation early and often, even if you don't think about doing this. Like, I ain't doing this for 10 years. You'd be surprised how many people are not proactive in this, when reality, it's something that it could be so easy to do to get through the little stuff, especially when you have your health and you have, and when it's, my personal family, it was in Ohio, and my great grandfather, he had dementia, and all of a sudden he's put into assisted living and memory care. And now the family's going through it, and now we've got the whole farm, and we're going through all this stuff, and it was generations of cousins and kids put in this barn, and it took forever. But in reality, we could have just done it over time. But you learn from your own mistakes. Another scenario that we see a lot is the single level living, is the people who, let's say you don't have to move after that rehab, and you can live at home for another couple of years, whatever it may be, and your stuff is all upstairs. Well, if you have like a new hip or whatever it may be, you take the bedroom and put it on the first level, maybe in the dining room, in the family room, whatever it may be, and you live on that single level, and then bring the stuff back up if you are able to do that in the future. But in reality, single level living is the easiest way to go, especially as you age. So you're not fighting the stairs. Or have my wife's grandmother, she fell down the stairs and she recovered at home so quickly, I couldn't believe it. But the stairs, even for her, were an issue. So it's, now she lives on the main level, not going into the basement anymore. Let's hope so. The lock and leave lifestyle. I don't know how many people want to say, hey, you know what? We're retired. We want to go see the world. And I can't go in the summertime, or I can't go because I have to take care of the home, and they want to lock the door and leave and go away for a month. They want to go to Florida for 3 months or whatever that may be. If it's like, well, we can never go on vacation because we have to mow the grass or whatever it may be. Going to a smaller place, we see a lot of people in that situation where Downsizing doesn't have to be, when a loved one passed away and now we have to clear out the estate. Yes, that's a lot of what we do, but it can also be, my kids are gone, I'm gonna downsize, I'm gonna live somewhere in a cottage or somewhere that it's 55 plus, and I don't have to worry about all this stuff anymore, and I can go to Vegas if you want. We see a lot of that too, with people that are younger, that maybe just retired, even in their 50s, just wanting to get rid of that stuff so they don't have to deal with it later. Anyone who is a power of attorney or the primary caregiver, it is very difficult to have to deal with the whole home, where mom or dad, as their health declines, and now they become the person that have to do this. So, as a move manager, we work with the client is the person going through the transition, but then we also work with the family to help them so they're not burdened with the physical side of getting the whole house taken care of. So a lot of it is working with kids. Maybe it's time to move closer to the kids. Maybe the kids moved away and then now you're chasing them so you can live somewhere closer to them, as well as it's time to go wherever they may be. If they say they settled in Austin, Texas, wherever that settlement is, and you're like, I want to be near the grandkids, whatever it is. As you go through that process, it doesn't always have to be the emergency. Oh, this is so much stuff, we have to go through all of it. It can be just to improve the quality of life. So with that, again, my name is Ryan Burns. I'm the owner of Stress Free Solutions. Thank you so much. And we may have some questions that come in. I'll answer here shortly. Thank you. So I had 2 questions come in. The first one is to talk about the timeline, but what should I be doing along that timeline to really get some action items of like, what should I do at 6 months and what should I do at 9 months? Everyone's different, and everyone, not 2 different people, even if it's your husband and wife, everyone will have 2 different ideas on this. Let's say the wife says, throw it away, and the husband says, I want to keep it all. I got to keep it all. This is my workshop. Whatever that situation is all, and it's individual to you. If I had the perfect magic world, what I would say is, create the timeline now of your goal. So you look at, like when I say about that goal, and here it is. If you say, I want to have this house sold in 2 years, well then put that as the timeline, of what your truly goal is. And then as you put all these pieces in, make sure you within 6 months, never earlier than 6 months. Now we do get calls that say, hey Ryan, I'm moving on Friday and it's Monday, can you move me? Don't do that, but it happens. But let's say, just for this example, you said, I want to have this house sold and I want to be living in the new place, everything done, all this behind us in 2 years. What I would start saying is all the little things like attic, basement, garage. I would start doing that now. Don't get rid of your lawnmower if you still need to mow the grass. But if you have 15 shovels, maybe keep 1. Start to pare down those areas right away. Then, I like to say within a year of doing it, you're going to start to think about, okay, when is the house going to be put on the market? So then when you back that out of the house on the market, even if it's sold the day it's on the market, you probably got 45 days in between there to actually get the stuff out before you actually move out. And you also have to have the other home set up. So at every little piece of that, let's say the home is put on the market March 1st. So in reality, your goal of when you're going to be done, let's say March, April, May, let's say June 1st, you want to have all this done. So then you say, okay, June 1st, I want to be, that's my goal. I want to have the house on the market here. I'm probably going to move in here. Now, to get the house prepared, so now we're looking at 6 months. So we're talking, if you want June, I would say wait till after the holiday season, and January 1st, you need to be working on this for 3 months if you're going to do it so your house can be put on the market. So then you can go through that process of the home selling situation. But the first year, it makes it a lot easier to do everything in 3 months if you've already been starting. So that's like a two year timeline. Some people break it off to say, oh, I have 10 years. Well, in a 10-year timeline, everything that happens is still going to happen. But let's say you don't really have to get rid of everything right away, but you can start that process of saying, if something happened to us, where are the kids going to get, or what are the kids are going to get, and what is that thing? You can do all that kind of stuff. So at least you have a list Put in the safe of here's what we'd like to do, and this is our plan of when it happens. But again, people will literally wait till, hey, the house just sold. Now I need to downsize. I have 45 days to get out of the house. We do a lot of that. It's not fun for anybody, and a lot of times it's just too stressful. It's too stressful on the client going, I'm not used to sitting here working for 6-7 hours a day. I've been retired for 10 years, whatever that may be. You want to slow it out, or maybe it's like in phases where phase one, basement, and that phase within that phase one, that might be once a week for the next 3 weeks. Everyone's different. Some people can't do more than, decision making for more than 2 hours a day. Some people say, let's just knock this out. I don't care if I sleep. Then what happens is they usually get sick. And now they're like, I can't do anything because I wore my body out. I wasn't used to doing all that work. So creating a custom plan of your goals along the way is typically what you want to do. The second question I had was, what do I focus my 10% on to make sure I get the most value? I can tell you right now, your house has the most value. So you want to make sure you focus on everything to make sure the house shows well. That's number one, declutter the house. Make sure the lighting, everything that you need to do. If it's changing out the faucet or the shower head, so a brand new shower head and it costs $15, those little things will make the house more money. But I'm not a realtor, so they'll help you through that process. But the stuff, the actual physical items, I can't sell guns, but the kids aren't taking them, the guns, the gold, the silver, anything that actually has value, start with that. When it comes to furniture, the mid-century modern, that stuff still sells. Anything that's funky. So when I say funky is if it was in a JCPenney catalog, donate it. If something is unique and like, wow, this is so cool, I've never seen one of these before, focus on that. That'll actually bring you money. So look for the unique stuff, the things that, wow, I've never seen one of these before, and a lot of times the kids want that stuff anyways. So really it's just the point where is your time best spent? Now, if you're not gonna be lifting furniture and taking it out, or you have someone like me do it, if you have like a signed piece of jewelry and it's worth $500, well then that might be, if you have someone that understands eBay, you might eBay that piece, but you're not going to sit there and go through 10,000 pieces in your home and go through it. It's just not worth your time when your ultimate goal is to get where you want to go. So now if you have that, back to that 2-year timeline, if you say, I'm going to try to sell as much as I can in 3 months, start with that. And you'll be so sick of it that you'll say, okay, after that, now we're done with it. Because a lot of times people have to go through it and understand that, wow, that was really time consuming. Don't try to sell it in that 45 days that your house has from contract to, from contract to closing. You don't have the time. You're focusing at that point of getting out. So if you have 10 years, start selling things that you don't want now. That makes it easy. And that could be anything with Facebook yard sale or whatever it may be, or someone like, if I sold it, it'd be an online auction or a local auction house that you trust. In reality, if it's $10, you think you can get $10 for it, it's probably best spent donating that. It's with that many people turning 65 every single day, there's so much stuff out there, and a lot of people have the same amount of stuff. So the first-time home buyers, my own personal house, I don't have a kitchen table. I've been there for 6 years. I don't need one. I don't want one. I don't have a china cabinet. I have no need for another piece of furniture to come into my house. The first-time home buyers, the younger generation, they're actually starting their life off going, I don't want all this stuff. I'd rather spend the time traveling. So you got a full generation of people that had similar tastes. Like people don't, they're not really decorating with the dishes and things like that anymore in the kitchen, but they have all this great china and this great, crystal and all this stuff, but where's the market? So the supply and demand, there's a lot of supply and very little demand. So again, spend the time on the few things, and really it's the unique and the stuff that has value. If you're like, well, I've got all the best Avon bottles and Longaberger baskets. We have an auction going on right now. By the time you see this video, it'll already be gone. We have 300 Longaberger baskets, like for sale right now. So it's everything that we come across and we see it. Some of them do great because people are like, oh, I can buy these. But in reality, it's so time consuming to sell every little thing in the home, and I'd rather you focus on what you're going to be and make that feel like home, so can get all this behind you.